Okay, question 10. How we start looking at some trigonometry. They've given us a picture here, Cartesian plane with a point P on it at -5, -12, and an angle alpha. I know that doesn't look much like an alpha, but just pretend it is. Determine the following without a calculator. Cosine of A, alpha. Cosine of alpha. Now first, before we start, I just want to make this look like a triangle so we can see what's happening all the time. Okay, so here's a triangle. That means that this distance here is our y value, which is -12. This distance here is -5. And the hypotenuse we can calculate by using the Pythagoras Theorem. Says that the square of this side plus the square of that side is equal to the square of the hypotenuse. 25 plus 144 is 169. Square root of 169 is 13. Okay, so now we've got a triangle and we know all the sides. But the problem is alpha is not inside the triangle. Alpha is a reflex angle over that way. So now we need to correlate that angle alpha to something in here. I would suggest that we say some angle inside is something that correlates with alpha. Okay, we can see that this angle here would just be alpha minus 180, right? And now how does that correlate to this angle here? Well, because this line is parallel to the x-axis, that tells us something. That tells us that this angle and this angle are the same. So if this angle is alpha minus 180, and so is this one. So this is alpha minus 180 in this corner. Let's work with that. So we need to find cosine of alpha, but we only have that to work with in this triangle. So let's start by saying cosine of alpha minus 180. Here we know that we can take out a negative in there to change these numbers around. Factor out a negative and we're left with negative cosine of 180 minus alpha. Oh, what is 180 minus alpha? Okay, if this is 180 degrees from 0 here, 180 minus alpha, that means we're moving in an anti-clockwise direction. So is cosine positive or negative over here? It's negative. So it'll be negative cosine alpha. Okay, so that's just equal to cosine of alpha. So in this case, cosine of this angle would be the same as cosine of that angle. And cosine we know is the adjacent side divided by the hypotenuse. So cosine of alpha is equal to adjacent side -5 over the hypotenuse, which is 13. That's cosine alpha. Now let's look at tan 180 minus alpha. We'll start off with a similar process. We'll say again tan of 180 minus alpha is equal to, again, 180 minus alpha. We're looking at this quadrant, and tan we know is negative in that quadrant. So that'll be equal to negative tan of alpha. Okay, and now let's look at how tan alpha relates to tan of alpha minus 80. Okay, so over here we've got tan of alpha minus 80, 180. Again, factor out the negative, that gives us negative tan of 180 minus alpha. And again, tan 180 minus alpha, that's negative, so it becomes negative tan alpha, which is positive tan alpha. Okay, so we're looking for negative tan alpha, and we see again here the tan of 180 minus alpha is just equal to tan alpha, so we can work with this angle here. And we're looking for negative tan of this angle. The tangent we know is the opposite side divided by the adjacent side, so that's equal to negative of -12 over -5. negative 12 over negative 5, which is then equal to negative, those become a positive, so it's just negative 12 over 5. Okay, there we go. Now the last question, sine of 30 minus alpha. Okay, now this one becomes a bit interesting, so we need to know this, that sine of 30 minus alpha is equal to the following. That's equal to sine of 30 cosine of alpha minus cosine of 30 sine of alpha. I might do another video on deriving some commonly used formulas like this one, but we'll just assume that what I know is right. And you should have probably also studied this in preparation for the exams if you're a student in a school here in South Africa. Okay, now let's look at what happens here. Sine of 30. What is sine of 30? Well, let's draw a little triangle here. This is one of the special triangles a lot of people are also familiar with. We've got the sides 1, 2, square root 3, and the angles being 30 degrees and 60 degrees and 90 degrees. Okay, so sine of 30, opposite of hypotenuse is a half, so that's a half. Cos of alpha, we calculated, is negative 5 over 13, negative 5 over 13, minus cosine of 30, it's adjacent over hypotenuse, so it's root 3 over 2, multiplied with sine of alpha. Now sine of alpha we haven't calculated yet, but that turns out to be negative 12 over 13. Okay, and now from here we just simplify and we get negative 5 plus 12 root 3 over 26. Okay, because as you can see the common denominator is 26, 2 times 13, and then we can just add the numerators. There you go. That's it for question 3.